नहीं आउंदी सानू गालां दिंदी नू
हर बोली सिखो सिखनी भी चाहिदी पर पक्की वेख के कच्ची नहीं ढाई दी पर पक्की वेख के कच्ची नहीं ढाई दी नशियां ने पटदे पंजाबी गभरू कड़कन हड्डियां बचाउण डमरू शास्ता ने मार ली जवानी चढ़दी दिल मिल किते अख किते लड़दी मर जाने माना की भरोसा गलदा पुरानी मनाई दा किसे दी गलदा कह कर लोग सियाने
की बनू की बनू की बनू
की बनू दुनिया दा सच्चे पातशाह वागरू जाने की बनू दुनिया दा सच्चे पातशाह वागरू जाने की बनू दुनिया दा अल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह तेरी जुगनी हाय तारे आवे तेरी जुगनी साईं मोड़ा वाले आवे जुगनी अल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह तेरी जुगनी अल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह तेरी जुगनी हाय तारे आवे तेरी जुगनी 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 तेरी जुगनी
Today was a dark day in the history of the United States Capitol.
Joe Biden as president-elect.
مصطفى شاكر والمقدم الركن عبد المحسن عبد الله حسن نوط الشجاعة على وزير الدفاع تنفيذ هذا المرسوم صدام حسين رئيس الجمهورية.
شلون موقف وعدات؟ جيد الحمد لله سيدي. ما عاد والله يحاول؟ اصل سيدي واحنا هناك عم نحاول نضرب بلونا من هاي الزنا. العدل كان يحاول عليه التعوض. هو سكت واحد حتى النفس انقطع سيدي والله حتى النفس بالقاطع ماضي. نعم سيدي.
شكرا سيدي.
يحاولون يمك؟
نعم سيدي وسهلا.
العدو يحاول؟
لا سيدي ما يقدر يحاول.
Saddam Hussein has repeatedly threatened to arm his missiles with poison gas and chemical warheads.
Susmaz gönlümün yarası, çık gel Allah'ın belası. Kavuşmak öyle zor değil ki, sadece iki parmak arası. Susmaz gönlümün yarası, çık gel Allah'ın belası. Kavuşmak öyle zor değil ki, sadece iki parmak arası. Yaram derinden, gittin tutamadım elinden. Bıktım kendimden, düşemeyen dillerden. Geri gelmez zaman, dönemez misin ellerden? Söyle kim kahraman, düşemeyen dillerden. Yaram derinden, gittin, tutamadım elinden. Bittim, bıktım kendimden, dön ölüyorum derdinden. Sensin derdimin dermanı, nasıl verdin bu fermanı? Acımasızdır geceler, gel de kapat şu yaramı. Sensin derdimin dermanı, nasıl verdin bu fermanı? Acımasızdır geceler, gel de kapat şu yaramı. Geri gelmez zaman, aşk tutmaz elimden. Sen yoksan sevdiceğim, ah yaram derinden. Geri gelmez zaman, aşk tutmaz elimden. Sen yoksan sevdiceğim, ah yaram derinden. Yaram derinden, gittin, tutamadım elinden. Bittim, bıktım kendimden, dön ölüyorum derdinden. Geri gelmez zaman, aşk tutmaz elimden. Sen yoksan sevdiceğim, ah yaram derinden.
رحيم من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا وقل جاء الحق وزهق
تكلم مع المحكمة، تكلم مع المحكمة أخي.
أقصد الرئيس العراقي السابق، فهو يتحمل مسؤولية اعتقالي ومسؤولية ضياع مستقبلي ومسؤولية إعدام إخوتي ويتحمل مسؤولية البساتين التي جرفت. رابعا صادق مجيد حميد الخزعلي. خامسا هاشم.
فإذا كان الادعاء العام من واجبه أن يسجل على الشاهد بذات الحماسة وبذات الدقة الهنات التي ترد في كلامه، فعليه بنفس الطريقة التي يسجلها على المتهم، فعليه أن يحفظ توازنه في هذا.
We don't have these third physical eyes on our physical bodies.
The third eye atrophied into the pineal gland.
He talks about the Lemurians elevating into higher frequency. And in the last video about Atlantis, in the commentary, I talked about a civilization that's even older than Lemuria called Lumania. And the beings of Lumania also elevated into higher frequency. So when I do my research on Lemuria, it talks about Lemuria being destroyed by earthquake and fire. It's possible that both of these things are true, just like in Atlantis. Atlantis was sunken under the water, but there were certain ones in Atlantis, the high priest and priestesses, the chosen ones, that left that place before it sunk to move on to higher consciousness. And so it would follow that this is also what happened with Lemuria. The huge lesson from the Lemurians, whether you believe this was an actual continent with actual beings, or whether you believe it's a myth, either way, the take-home message is this: there are endless levels of consciousness, and there are endless dimensions of reality. You are much more than your physical self. You are a spirit. You are an aqueous substance that takes on the shape and form of whatever your powerful mouth says. And this physical form is temporal and temporary. And so whether you believe that Lemuria actually existed or not, there have been many reports of sailors seeing this pyramid over the Pacific Ocean as they move through the portals of their minds. So it starts to blend, the reality you're currently in and the realities you visit in your mind. And again, I bring up the dream state because it's such a easy example of how real your consciousness makes things. When you dream, you are in a different reality than when you're awake. And it feels as if you're awake in the dream. We have this ability to do this even when we're not sleeping.
Wow! Ice cream, ice cream, so many flavors of ice cream. Ice cream, ice cream, so many flavors of ice cream. Whitish vanilla, greenish pista, pinkish strawberry, brownish chocolate, ice cream. Yummy!
At the end of the military build-up, Allied forces in the Gulf totaled 3/4 of...
Ice cream, ice cream.
At the end of the military
There
build-up,
come
Allied
the ball
forces
ice
in the Gulf
creams. Ice cream, ice cream. Wow! There come the ball ice creams. Yellowish mango, greenish pista, purple grape, brownish chocolate. We are ball ice cream. Ice cream, ice cream. There come the cup ice creams. Ice cream, ice cream. There come the cup ice creams. Whitish vanilla, yellowish mango, purple grape, greenish pista. We are cup ice cream.
Well, that said, were you surprised by what seems to be a complete turnaround in Miami-Dade and the effect that that's going to have?
Well, I think the Miami-Dade people, the canvassers, were under a tremendous amount of pressure. I mean, I saw something I never thought I'd ever see in my life, a near riot by Republicans. Republicans are the kind of people who usually riot, but they were standing outside the canvassing board protesting that they weren't being let in to see the count. They were suspicious. The Republican view right now is that Democrats are trying to steal the election. Democrats are trying to steal right now is that Democrats are trying to steal election.
People. To meet the tax levels and close the tax loopholes I've requested.
To economic recovery is, in his words, more tax loopholes for the rich instead of more jobs for the needy.
Profits. If you close all of the tax loopholes as Senator McGovern talks about, and by the way, I have
trying to get additional revenues by closing some of the tax loopholes. I pointed out where waste can be reduced,
while raising military and foreign aid costs and not closing tax loopholes for the rich. As Mondale put it,
what I want to do is not to raise taxes, but to eliminate loopholes. And this is...
national health insurance, closing tax loopholes, and the decontrol of oil prices have...
to the tune of $5.5 billion through tax loopholes.
Well,
Mr. Joyce and his friends lost.
Service investors have already started the search for new tax loopholes, even before the ink on the president's plan.
Contributions and tax loopholes for that industry. So
I'll be a little stricter, but
to leave, number one. Number two, if we take away these loopholes in the tax code that actually encourage people to
roll back college tuition and fees, I'll close corporate tax loopholes, and I'll put a stop to tax hikes on
expire and close the corporate tax loopholes the lobbyists put in.
Healthcare spending and spending through tax breaks and loopholes. Right now, because of loopholes and shelters in the tax code, a quarter of all millionaires pay.
He says that he's going to close deductions and loopholes for his tax plan. That's how it's going to be paid for, but we don't know the details.
Lobbyists have rigged the tax code with loopholes that let some corporations pay nothing, while others pay.
Country, we actually have a real problem with the tax rates, tax loopholes, tax cheats, and I don't agree.
And they benefit from tax loopholes and deductions for offshoring jobs and shifting.
मैं आपका शुक्रगुजार हूं आपने मुझे मौका दिया मैं इसी वाले से क्योंकि कमेटी में मसरूफ रहा मेरी तकरीर भी नहीं मैं इसी में समेटने की कोशिश करूंगा जनाब मोहतरम चेयरमैन साहब आपकी हिदायत और दिलचस्पी की वजह से कमेटी में हाजिर हुए इससे पहले भी हाजिर होते रहे लेकिन ये तारीख है कि रिकमेंडेशन के वक्त भी वो वहां पर मौजूद थे और फाइनल रिकमेंडेशन करते वक्त उन्होंने हमें बहुत सिफारिश की है कि 10% की जगह 20% किया जाए और पेंशन में भी जिसको इग्नोर किया गया हमने उसकी भी सिफारिश की है कि उन लोगों को भी 20% जो है इजाफा किया जाए बहरी जहाजों के मुलाजमीन की तनख्वाहों पर लगाने वाले टैक्स को हमने मुस्तरद किया कि उनकी तनख्वाहों पर भी टैक्स लगाया जा रहा था जिसको हमने मुस्तरद किया फाइनेंशियल क्रंच के अंदर है इस फाइनेंशियल क्रंच को अगर कोई पूरा कर सकता है दूर कर सकता है पाकिस्तान को डेवलप कर सकता है पाकिस्तान को आसमान की बुलंदियों पर ले जा सकता है पाकिस्तान को खुशहाल कर सकता है हमारे जितने बेरोजगार लोग हैं उनको रोजगार दे सकता है तो ये बिजनेस कम्युनिटी है इस बिजनेस कम्युनिटी को हकारत का सलूक बंद होना चाहिए इनको इज्जत का सलूक होना चाहिए इनकी चीजों को और से सुनना चाहिए और